What these first few lessons are designed to do is give you an overview of the LSAT logic games. And we're going to give you some strategies to get started and start seeing some immediate improvement on your logic game score. Now, you're going to find much more detail and a lot more detailed strategies in subsequent lessons in our full course, but this is enough to get you started and start seeing some improvement now. So the way we're going to go about this is first we'll take a look at logic games as a whole and how they fit into the LSAT. And then we'll look at some very specific strategies that you can use to apply to any logic game, regardless of the category or type of logic game. And then we'll take those and test them. So you'll get a chance to take some quizzes and see how you're doing with those particular skills. And then finally, we'll go on and apply them to some actual LSAT logic games. So first of all, let's look at how the LSAT logic games fit into the test as a whole. So your LSAT is made up of 4 scored sections. And the logic games are one of those 4 scored sections. So that means they make up about 25% of your LSAT score. Now, for many students, this is the hardest 25% of the test. But for many of you, it'll also be the easiest one that you can see some very quick improvement upon. So what is it that our LSAT logic games are testing? Well, according to the makers of the LSAT, they're testing your ability to understand complex structural relationships. And that's supposed to mimic or simulate the complex relationships that you might see in a legal problem. So let's take a look at one of our LSAT logic games, and then we can break it down into its parts. So looking at our actual LSAT logic game here, you can see that at the top of the page, you've got a set of instructions. And this is going to tell you some information about how to answer these questions on the LSAT. Now, we're going to look at this in more detail later and see what it means. But for now, let's not worry about that. We'll dive right in and take a look at the actual LSAT logic game. So you can see that it's basically broken down into 3 areas. First, you've got an introductory paragraph. And this just gives you the basic structural format of this game. Then you've got a set of rules that tells you about the relationships of the entities and how things work in this game. And combined with your introductory paragraph, these rules are going to give you your diagram and help you set something up so you can go forward and answer the questions. And that's the last component of the game, is the actual questions. And they're just going to ask you questions about how these entities in this game relate to each other. Now, you may be asking yourself, well, where does it tell me what type of game it is or what category it fits into? Well, it doesn't. Nowhere on the LSAT do they tell you what type of game this is. And that's a bit of a problem because a lot of LSAT courses and textbooks will focus on these specific categories and types of games. And while that's important to be aware of, it's not enough. You need to have strategies that will approach all types of LSAT games, no matter what type they are, and a place to start without knowing what type of game it is or what category it fits into. And that's what we're going to give you here. We're going to give you a strategy that you can take in and approach a game no matter what type of LSAT game it is. Now, later on, we'll look at those specific types and adjust our strategy accordingly. And what that means is you can take this strategy, move into any game, and start working on it, putting some things on the paper, developing your diagram, and as you start to unlock what type of game it is or what category it fits into, then you can adjust your strategy and add some more elements in. So let's go ahead and look at our strategy that works with any LSAT logic game. Whenever you look at the introductory paragraph for your LSAT logic game, which of course they all have, you want to get 3 things out of it. First, you want to get out a list of entities. Those are the characters or the actors, the people, the places, the things that are going to be moving around in this game. And you want to get a list of those entities. The second thing you want to get is the frequency at which those entities occur. So do you have to use them once? Do you have to use them twice? A minimum of twice? A maximum of 5 times each? Or can you use them as many times each as you want? And then finally, the third thing you need to get out of every introductory paragraph for an LSAT logic game is placeholders. And that is going to give you the basic structure of your game. It's just going to be a set of lines, blank lines, that you're going to put your entities into. So again, the 3 things, your entities, the frequency at which they occur, and the placeholders into which to put them. Your entities are the actors or the characters or the people, the places, the things that are moving around in your logic game. So this could be a list of clowns that are going to be performing tricks, and you've got names for them: Albert, Bob, Carrie, Doug, and Egbert. And you're going to represent them with the first letter of their name. Now, sometimes you can use numbers if you just are simply given numbers to represent your entities, as in you've got code and you're generating it from a series of numbers from 0 to 4. You're just going to put down the numbers 0 to 4. But if you're given specific names for your entities, you want to use that first letter from their name. So in the case with the clowns, we might have our clowns named A, B, C, D, and E. If one of your entities has two names, so we've got Donald Smith as one of your clowns, you only want to use one letter. It just gets confusing when you have two letters because suddenly you're thinking, oh, is this DS going to be one entity or two entities? And once you get into the speed of the game, you can mistake it for two entities. So keep it simple, keep it consistent, and just use one letter to represent your entities. So you've got your list of names for your entities, and then you're ready to go on and take a look at the frequency at which those entities occur. Now, the frequency of occurrence for entities in an LSAT logic game is something that a lot of people miss when setting up their diagram because you don't really need it. But it's this extra piece of information that takes you so much further and makes the game that much easier. So you really want to make sure that you record this information. And that is, how many times can I use my entities? So in our previous example, if I have clowns A, B, C, D, and E, how many times can I use them? Can I use each clown exactly once or a minimum of once? Or maybe I can use my clowns as many times as I want. You want to record that information and you're going to put it down right next to your entities so you know exactly how many times you can use them. And then you'll be ready to go on and develop your placeholders to put those clowns or put those entities into. The placeholders in a game give you the overall structure of that game, and they give you the places into which you're going to put those entities. So it's kind of like the board game that you're going to put your pieces on, and the entities are the pieces. And you're going to lay out your placeholders just as simple lines. It's just a simple blank line like you would in a game of hangman where you're going to put a letter or a number into it representing that entity. And you're always going to use simple blank lines to represent your placeholders. And there's really three main ways that you can set up your placeholders. You're either going to have them in a simple order from left to right, representing an order from first to last, or Saturday to Thursday, or from the left side to the right side, or first to sixth in a race. And that's your basic way of representing your placeholder. So that's a basic order, and you're going to put it from left to right with some simple lines to represent where you're going to put your entities. The second way that you can represent your placeholders is a little bit more of an advanced twist on that order. So let's say you have a second element. Let's say you've got clowns performing their tricks, but now we need to know exactly what type of trick each clown is performing. So they're performing tricks in order from first to fifth, but they're also performing a certain type of trick. Say they're either dancing or juggling. Well, you need to make note of that underneath or above each clown. So right next to each clown, either underneath it or above it, you want to have an extra line to represent what trick it is they're performing. And you can do this anytime you're given an additional level of information that corresponds directly to each of the entities that you're putting in your order. And this gives you a bit of an advanced order and is used in advanced ordering games where you've got two levels for your ordering. And this is your second way of laying out your placeholders. Now you can expand this if you need three levels. Let's say we've got each clown from order from first to fifth, and they're performing a certain type of trick. That's your second line. And then they're wearing a different color of clothing. That could be your third line. So now we're just adding a third element. Now typically in LSAT logic games, you only get two lines here, but you may get as many as three or more. So you can be prepared for that by just adding an extra set of lines or an extra set of placeholders to record what's going on in this order. Now the final way that you can lay out your placeholders for logic games is if we're putting them into groups. So we're, say, separating our clowns into happy clowns and sad clowns, or we're separating them into clowns that can drive well, clowns that can drive poorly, and clowns that don't have their driver's license. So in that case, we're creating three groups. So you just want to do your lines now vertically for your first group, your second group, your third group, or however many groups that you have. And you're just going to lay out your placeholders as simple blank lines as we did before, but now instead of laying them out in order from left to right, we're laying them out vertically for our groups, however many groups that there may be. And those are really the three main ways that you're going to lay out your placeholders to develop the general structure of your logic game diagram. Now there's some subtle variations on these that we'll get into later in the course, but this is going to cover off the majority of your LSAT logic games. So now that you've seen the three main things you want to get out of every introductory paragraph for your LSAT logic game, let's go ahead and apply this knowledge to some practice questions. Go ahead and try the practice questions, and remember, for each LSAT introductory paragraph, you want to pull out your entities, the frequency at which they occur, and put down some placeholders to put them in. And don't worry if you're not totally comfortable with this yet. We're going to get a lot of practice at doing this, and once you've done the practice questions, you can come back to the next video lesson and we'll show you exactly how we would have solved these problems. For the rest of the videos in this series, including practice questions and solutions, go to alphascore.com and take the free trial.